Okay, so good day to everyone, and I would like to continue our discussions regarding managing the environmental issues of modern agriculture. And now we will go on to our topic about the burning of agricultural waste. So kapag tayo ay nagsusunog, what happened to our environment? Okay, so especially the environment can have an impact or kaya in burning agricultural waste can have an impact to our environment. What are these problem or what are these reasons why we will not burn our agricultural waste? So number one, it destroy the organic matter that makes soil fertile. So nade-destroy yung ating mga organic matter if there is a burning of agricultural waste. Especially yung mga stubbles or yung mga rice straw, yung mga corn stubbles natin, and other materials na nagiging usage natin or ginamit natin during the productions. So, dapat hindi natin sinusunog yung mga yon because number one, it destroyed the organic matter. Number two, the crop yield will decrease over time. So it means nagkakaroon ng decreasing kasi nga nagiging acidic yung soil natin, and at the same time ay namamatay yung mga good microorganism na nasa loob mismo ng lupa, na kapag tayo ay nagsunog, the good microorganism present in that soil will kill or will eliminate. Mamamatay sila. So, increasing the need for costly fertilizer. So, habang tayo ay nagsusunog, mas tumataas din yung need natin ng fertilizer. So, kapag acidic yung soils natin, syempre kailangan ng mas madaming bulk of fertilizer. So, kapag na-immune na yung soils natin sa synthetic fertilizer, it may lead to acidity of our soil. Especially, yung topsoils natin ay nare-remove and at the same time ay nadi-deplete. Okay? Yung humus na present or yung pinaka upper part ng layer ng soil ay nasisira because of that mali na ginagawa natin. Okay? So, smoke and spreading flames also pose a risk to neighboring communities, buildings, and field. Siyempre, kapag tayo nagsusunog, nagre-reklamo yung mga communities, buildings, and field because yung usok na lumalabas ay pwedeng makapag-provide ng carbon dioxide or makapag-contribute ng carbon dioxide na maglilid din sa pagkasira ng ating ozone layer. And at the same time, yung mga tao magrereklamo kasi kapag may isinampay ka na damit, di ba? Tapos dahil sa pagsusunog ng mga agricultural waste, nausukan yung damit mo, syempre magrereklamo ka. So yun yung isa din. So social effects, yung mga buildings natin baka mamaya masunog dahil sa mabilis na pag-spread nung ating or nung mismong fire. Okay? So, ang agricultural waste or burning of agricultural waste can source of air pollution, land pollution, and water pollution. So, sa air pollution, yung mismong smoke or yung mismong the smoke ay pwedeng makaapekto sa ating health. Yung land naman can pollute, and then yung mga water or yung water natin can lead to pollutions. And also it affect the nutrient budget in the soil. Nare-remove mismo yung mga nutrient present in the soil or yung mga natural nutrients na present sa soil natin. That may result in the emission of smoke which is added to the gases present in the air like yung methane, nitrogen oxide, and ammonia. So once na nakapag-release tayo ng mga gases na ito, ay alam nyo ba na matagal yung stay niya doon sa environment or kaya doon sa atmosphere natin. Okay? Can cause severe atmospheric pollution. So, nagko-cause din pala siya ng pollution. So, kaya nga bilang isang agriculturist or bilang isang farmer, we need to prevent or we need to stop burning the waste in the agricultural field. Okay? So in the excessive use of the chemical and or synthetic fertilizer and pesticide, meron tayong data dito or isang table wherein it represent mismo yung uh, yung synthetic fertilizer. So, sa ilang taon na pag-a-apply natin ng fertilizer, bumababa ba siya or tumataas? So, tingnan natin. So, the use of chemical fertilizer in the Philippines is started to increase exponentially in the late 1950s. So, between 1961 and 2005. So, fertilizer application increased by 1,000%. So, yung pag-a-apply natin ng fertilizer from 1950s to from 1950s to 2005, nag-increase ng 1,000%. Bakit kaya? Dahil sa immunity ng lupa natin na mabilis yung pag-degrade or mabilis yung pag-release ng nutrients, wala nang naiiwan sa mga soils natin kasi walang storage of nutrients sa soils natin because the fertility of soil ay na-remove, especially yung mga silt. Yan, kasi ang silt sa soil natin napakahalaga. Yung type ng soil na silt, yan yung pinaka-storage ng nutrients. And at the same time, yung mga vermicomposts or yung mga humus. Yan. So, yung green graph dito, that is the fertilizer. Okay? And then yung rice naman, yan yung green. Blue yung isa. Fertilizer is blue. And then yung rice naman, that is green. And then yung maize natin, that is red. As you can see, as the years goes by, tumataas din ang amount of fertilizer that applied in our field. Especially in the rice. As you can see, matakaw pala sa fertilizer ang rice. Unlike dito sa corn natin, na napaka baba. Okay? Baba. So, as you can see, kapag mas mataas ang fertilizer na ina-apply natin, ganito lang yung average of yield na pwede nating maani. Okay? So, itong graph na ito, this is the fertilizer used 10 times, while rice and maize yield increased 2 and 3 times respectively from 1961 to 2006 in the Philippines. So this is the amount of fertilizer applied, and then this is the yield of our crop. Example, yung rice natin, pag ganito yung pag-apply natin ng fertilizer, ito lang yung yield na may accumulate natin. Okay, wala pa siya sa maximum of 7, kundi nasa average of 4 tons per hectare. Sa corn naman, kapag ganito yung applications natin ng fertilizer, nasa 800,000 tons in average. So, ito lang yung mismong yield na pwede nating ma-accumulate. As you can see, nung unang panahon, pumapantay ang fertilizer sa yield ng crops. Unlike ngayon, tignan nyo, kahit nagtaas yung yield, pero as you can see, yung pagitan ng yield tapos yung amount ng fertilizer, napakalaki. So it means na kahit mag-apply tayo ng madaming fertilizer, ito lang pala yung maximum na yield na pwede nating maani. Unlike nung unang panahon, because of the status siguro ng soil na mas mataas ang fertility, no need na mag-apply na ng fertilizer. Ganito na mismo yung yield. Okay, nasa 1 tons. Yung isa naman nasa 2 tons. Compared ngayon, tumaas na yung ani, pero napakataas din ng need ng fertilizer or average ng fertilizer per hectare. So, yun. Tignan nyo ang increment niya, napakataas, di ba? Yung increment from the yield to the amount of fertilizer, napakataas. So it means, hindi fertilizer ang nagiging solusyon sa pagtaas ng ani, kundi how can we manage the soil properly. Okay, napaka-importante na i-manage natin yung soils natin properly. So the use of pesticides, so insecticide also are by far the most used type of pesticide in the Philippines. So insecticide is the most type of pesticide used in the Philippines. They represent 56% of the total pesticide trade in the country in 1966 or 1996, I should say. So insecticides are generally highly toxic to fish and tend to bioaccumulate in aquatic organisms. So the most widely used pesticide are the organophosphate, the carbamates, and the pyrethroids. Okay? So eto mismo, so titignan natin sa application ng insecticide, based dito sa graph. So itong graph na ito, this is the corn yield. And then, eto namang isa, this is a palay or the rice yield. And then, this is the applications of the pesticide. Tignan nyo nung 1970, mababa yung application natin ng pesticide. As you can see, mas mataas yung yield natin kesa doon sa pag-apply natin ng pesticide. But at you can see ngayon, ang taas or very excessive yung paggamit natin ng insecticide. Wherein yung yield niya mababa din. So, kailangan, alam nyo kung nagkakaroon ng pagpantay ng usage of pesticide and nung yield, merong tangent or something nagmi-meet sila na hindi nagkakaroon ng mataas na increment, it means maganda yung management. But because of the pest infestation sa area natin, kasi ang may pinakamalaking kalaban natin dito or ang pinaka-highest na kalaban natin or top priority natin dito para hindi bumaba yung yield natin is the pests like yung mga insect pests, weeds, diseases, and others. Yung rodents, kasali na yung rodents, birds, and others. Okay? So, lahat ng mga yon ay pwedeng makaapekto. Kaya nga, mas mataas yung pag-apply natin ng mga pesticides kaysa na doon sa yield natin. So, ngayong modernized na yung ating technology, what happened to our management? Wherein, pumapasok na tayo sa modern agriculture but very excessive yung paggamit natin nung mga pesticides, wherein yung sobra ng mga pesticides or yung excessive na paggamit natin ng pesticide can lead to climate change. Nakakaapekto rin sa ating environment. Okay? So, water stress. So, plant experience water problem like yung drought and flooding. So, that is the two types of water stress. The drought and flooding. So, according to Dennis noong 2000, that the crop growth and development are constantly influenced by the environmental conditions such as yung stress, which are most important yield reducing factor in the world. So, ang pinaka-reducing factor din na isang nakakaapekto sa pagbaba ng yield ng mga crops natin are the drought and flooding. So, what do we mean by drought? Drought means that is the lack of water due to higher exposed to warmth or heat caused by the environment. Okay? So, meron tayong mga classes ng drought. So, meron tayong tinatawag na absolute drought and partial drought. Partial drought. Anong ibig sabihin ng absolute drought? Kapag sinabi nating absolute drought, it is a period of at least 15 consecutive days to none, of which is credited 0.01 inches or 0.25 millimeter rain or more. Okay, so ang absolute drought daw ay merong 15 consecutive days na tuloy-tuloy na walang ulan. Wherein, ang amount of rain lang na pwedeng bumagsak is nasa 0.01 or 0.25 millimeter. That is absolute drought. Kapag sinabi naman natin partially drought, it means it is a period of at least 29 consecutive days. So kapag merong 29 consecutive days na wala ng ulan, isang buwan, so means that there is a partial drought. So the mean daily rainfall of this partially drought, which does not exceed to 0.01 or 0.25 millimeter inches. So it means hindi bumababa sa 0.01 or 0.25 millimeter inches ang partially or partial drought or 29 days consecutive non-rain. So if that plants experience this type of drought, the stress in plants can be occurred because stress is any external factors that negatively influence by the plant growth, productivity, and reproductive capacity or survival. So kapag merong stress, alam nyo ba, ang stress, iyan yung pinakaunang nakakaapekto sa plants natin. Na instead na ang concentration niya is to provide and absorb nutrients, hindi niya nagagawin yon. Because kung merong something na disable siya, or something may problem sa isang part ng plants natin, yun ang pwedeng mag-lead sa kanya into an stressful or something na mamamatay siya. Gaya din sa tao, di ba? Kapag merong parte sa katawan natin na merong something na masakit, ang focus na lang natin is yung sakit na yon. Ganon din dito sa ating mga crops. Na kapag nagkaroon ng something na imbalances doon sa growth and development ng plants natin, pwede silang mamatay. Okay? So drought occurs when water is scarce or it is completely unavailable. So significant damage to crop kapag merong drought. And one of the most important environmental stress is drought, especially in warm and dry conditions. So ang drought natin nagli-lead into crop yield losses or it limits the yield of that particular crop. Na as you can see in the figure, that if there is an occurrence or experiencing of drought, either it is a partial or absolute drought, pwedeng mamamatay yung ating crops. And then we have also types of drought. We have the meteorological, agricultural drought, hydrological drought, and sociological drought. Okay? So, anong ibig sabihin ng meteorological drought? So, meteorological drought, this is a reduce of a precipitation. Wherein, nangyayari ito sa environment natin. Nangyayari mismo doon sa paligid natin. Whatever na na-experience natin sa environment natin, that is so-called meteorological drought. From the biosphere up to the atmosphere, that is meteorological drought. By the word meteorology, we're in our overall environment. Okay, that is meteorological drought. And then kapag sinabi naman nating agricultural drought, it means if there is a loss of moisture doon sa soils natin, na merong example sana may nakatanim na mga crops, and then there is a losses of moisture in the soil, that is so-called agricultural drought. Example sana, nangyayari ang mga agricultural drought natin sa farm. If ever na merong nakatanim doon, masasabi mong that is agricultural drought if namamatay yung mismong crop na yon. Example sana, ang itinanim mo ay corn. Yung corn, once na nagkaroon ng losses ng water or moisture yung lupa, at nagkaroon ng reaction doon sa mismong growth and development ng corn at nagkaroon ng symptoms, it means that is agricultural drought. Ang hydrological drought naman ay nangyayari ito sa mga ilog, like yung sa dagat, like sa Cagayan River, sa mga reservoir, sa mga dams, lakes, and others. So hydrological drought means it experiences in the reservoir or water reservoir. Okay? And then we have also the socio-economic drought. So kapag sinabi nating socio-economic drought, if there is an effect of the yield doon sa crops natin at nagkukulang doon sa market, that is so-called socio-economic drought. Example sana, walang production ng kamatis, walang production ng corn. It is because of the drought or it is because of environmental drought. So what happened kapag nagkaroon ng lackings ng production ng kamatis and corn doon sa market. Ang tawag doon, pag nagkukulang ng goods na yon, it means that is socio-economic drought pertaining on the drought conditions. Ano? Pero kapag naman dahil sa bagyo, dahil sa flooding, hindi na siya socio-economic drought. So, basta ang reason kung bakit nagkaroon ng pagkukulang ng supply ng goods na yon ay drought, it means that is so-called socio-economic drought. Nagkukulang. So, yung need ng tao hindi na naipoprovide. Okay? Next. So, meron tayong mga consequences of droughts. We have the social, environmental, and economical. So, sa social, syempre, it affects the health of the people. It limits the water supply in the people, especially sa Manila, na kapag nagkaroon ng pagbaba ng supply ng tubig at nag-aagawan na ng tubig sa Manila, that is social droughts. So, stress caused by the failed harvest, that is social droughts or economic droughts. And then, kapag environmental naman, kapag nagkaroon ng drying out of wetlands, namamatay yung mga biodiversity, namamatay yung mga ibon, namamatay yung mga wildlife, nagkaroon ng high food costs, increased pollutions, lower surface and subterranean water level, that is environmental drought. And then kapag economical drought naman, when there is a lower agricultural crops or lower agricultural supply, lower crop yield, high food cost, high food production cost, and lower energy. That is economical drought. Okay? So, ano yung mga causes ng drought? Number one is because of the agriculture. Using a large amount of water to irrigate the crops. So, mas mataas kasi yung tubig or essential kasi ang tubig sa agriculture sector. Kaya nababawasan ang tubig natin sa social, sa economics, because agriculture is one of the top priority na need nila is water. So, some crop require more water than others. Example sana yung mga cotton. And then, we have also dam buildings. So, nagkakaroon ng causes ng drought because of the dam buildings. So, kulang ang reservoir natin. Kulang ang mga dams, ng mga downstream na mga water flowings, ng mga reservoir. Kaya nagkakaroon ng drought. Because of the deforestations. Okay? Removing trees can reduce the amount of water. Climate change. It is predicted that climate change will cause some places around the world to get hotter, which will increase the evaporations of water. Okay? So, the effect of drought, arable land is turning to deserts. Okay? More difficult to produce crops and raise animals. So, mahihirapan tayo mag-produce. Less food and material for people to survive. Starvation and death or famine. Mamamatay tayo. People forced to rely on the international aid and relief. So, it means umaasa na lang tayo sa ibang bansa upang magkaroon ng relief. Yan, mga relief goods. Peoples are forced to move to another region because of the drought. Ngayon, ang Pilipinas, na-experience niya ang drought every April to May. We're in, as you can see, isang buwan na, pero umulan naman, di ba? Pero kapag isang buwan na yan, so it means there is a partial drought. Pero kapag 15 consecutive days na walang ulan, yung walang ulan talaga ha, that is absolute drought. So one of the strategies of the government is the cloud seeding to mitigate that drought. Ang nangyari doon sa Dubai, sa Dubai siguro yon, Dubai ba yon? Or sa Saudi Arabia, wherein nag-cloud seeding nga sila, pero sobra-sobra yung ulan na bumagsak, kaya nagkaroon ng flooding. Tama ba? Na instead na yung ulan na yon ay partially lang, pero sobra-sobra yung naibagsak niya na ulan, ang nangyari sa Saudi ay nagkaroon ng flooding. So cloud seeding is a form of intentional weather modification to include rainfall. Kaya kapag nagka-cloud seeding na tayo, ang pagka-cloud seeding, once na nagkaroon ng formations ng mga clouds or ng mga ulap, doon nila binabagsak yung molecule or kaya yung particle ng salt to convert it as a rain. Another one, strategies of drought is desalinization. Para magamit natin yung tubig sa ocean, ang ginagawa nila para mainom natin, they will desalinize the water. Okay? So, nire-remove nila yung salt and then ang lumalabas na mismo sa machine na yun or equipment is fresh water. Okay? They remove the salt and minerals from a target substance. Another one is, kailangan ang strategies natin is meron tayong drought monitoring. Ito yung, tayo naman meron na tayong mga technology, tama ba? Meron na tayong mga cellphones. So, yung mga cellphones natin, meron ng monitoring dyan na nape-predict niya na or nagkakaroon ng prediction kung ano yung magiging weather sa buong week or buong month. Kaya doon pa lang, we can observe or we can rely on that prediction para at least ay ma-monitor natin kung magkukulang ba ang tubig. Kaya kung meron kang management, wherein kapag alam mong nagkukulang na ng tubig doon sa area ninyo, kailangan magkaroon na ng drought monitoring. We need to continuous observe the rainfall level in comparison with the current usage levels that can help to prevent the man-made drought. So, careful monitoring of moisture level can help predict increased risk for wildfires. Okay? So, another strategies are land use. Kailangan meron tayong, para makapagtanim ka pa rin during drought season, kailangan ay gamitin natin yung land use natin. We need to careful plan the crop rotation that can help to minimize erosion and allow the farmer to plant less water-dependent crops or yung mga high-yielding varieties or drought-resistant na mga varieties na mga crops. And then, the outdoor water, rainwater harvesting. So, kailangan meron tayong mga harvesting water or yung mga catch basins natin. And then, recycle the water. Kailangan alam natin na i-recycle yung tubig natin. Especially sa Manila, yan yung ginagawa nila. Nire-recycle nila yung tubig para magamit nila for the next cycle or for the next month. Okay? Another one is flooding. So kapag sinabi nating flooding, it creates anaerobic. Kapag sinabi nating anaerobic, ito yung walang hangin or no air for that particular place. Example sana kapag merong plants and then merong tubig, syempre hindi makakahinga yung plants once na siya ay na-stuck or kaya nagkaroon ng submerge of water. So the deficiency of oxygen in the soil is termed hypoxia. Okay? While the complete absence of oxygen is apoxia. So kapag sinabi nating hypoxia, it means ay submerged lang siya ng tubig. Pero meron pa ring hangin. Okay? And then, kapag sinabi naman nating absence, so it means ay fully submerged yung mismong plants ng tubig. Ang tawag doon is hypoxia. Example sana, ito yung plants natin. And then, dito lang mismo umabot yung tubig. Ang tawag doon hypoxia. Kasi meron lang deficiency of oxygen. Wherein, nakakahinga pa rin naman yung plants natin kasi merong upper part pa rin. Pero kapag fully submerged na itong plants natin, it means ang tawag doon kapag absence of oxygen, apoxia. Okay? Apoxia. So meron tayong mga types of flooding. We have the coastal flooding. So ang coastal flooding ay nangyayari lang ito sa mga coastal areas or yung malapit sa dagat. Okay? Hindi nangyayari ito sa Isabela. Especially dito sa Tumawini, Cabagan, Santo Tomas, Santa Maria, walang coastal flooding dito. Ano? Kasi wala namang ocean. Ang coastal flooding can experience in Dinapigi, Palanan, Divilacan, Isabela. And also doon sa Cagayan, doon sa Santa Ana, sa Santa Teresita, Cagayan, sa Bugay, kasi malapit sila sa mga coastal areas or sa dagat. Okay? Kapag urban flooding naman, ito yung entirely man-made with poorly maintained drainage. Plastic bags and trash shrinking free passage for water to flow. So, dahil sa sobra-sobra yung ulan na bumagsak, once na nag-stuck yung tubig because of that rainfall or precipitations, at hindi mismo umalis yung tubig, nagkaroon ng submergence of water in the cities, they are so-called urban flooding. Okay? And then, another one is flash flood. So, yung urban flooding, hindi mismo mabilis yung force ng tubig. So, walang bumababa na tubig. Okay? Hindi mabilis yung force ng tubig. So, ang flash flood natin are experiences, especially sa mga mountainous areas. Pag mataas or kaya kapag ang tubig ay mabilis ang pagbagsak or something na pagbaba, there is flash flood. Okay? So, nangyayari ang flash flood once na there is a mountainous areas. Often carry away some trees along the river, and this flood can destroy buildings, roads, bridges. Okay? Once na malapit ka sa mga bundok or sa mga mountainous areas, expect na there is flash flooding. Pero kapag malapit ka sa mga coastal areas or sa dagat at nagkaroon ng ang tawag doon, nagkaroon ng pagtaas ng tubig, that is so-called coastal flooding. Okay? Pero kapag na-stuck lang yung tubig doon because due to heavy rains, that is, anong isang klaseng flooding yon? Makikita yun sa ikalawang or last two slides natin. Okay? So, if you have any questions regarding our topic, pwede kayong mag-comment. Okay? Another one pala sa coastal, kaya nagkakaroon ng coastal flooding, it is because of the storm surge. Kapag sinabi nating storm surge, ito yung pag-angat ng tubig sa dagat. Okay? Na nagkakaroon ng mataas na impact doon sa mga kabahayan. Okay? So, if you have any questions regarding our topic, please comment. And kapag may mga time tayo sa face-to-face, pwede kong isingit ulit ito para for further discussions natin. Okay, thank you very much and God bless us all.